Hey, sweeties, it's Lisa, and I am finally on January 20th getting ready to do my year ahead spread, or what I like to think of as the Wheel of Life spread. The Wheel of Life, classically in Buddhism, is that mandala, sometimes also called Lord Yama's mirror, which I'll try to drop an image in here, but that is the kind of depiction of cyclical existence and the sort of theme of there being six realms that you can think of on the macro level as like the soul's transmigration from incarnation to incarnation. I don't really think about reincarnation in those really literal terms, but you can also think about it just how one moment begets another, how our hearts with our churning, burning, yearning, of greed, of our grasping, but then also of our aversion, our pushing away, and then of our ignorance of our own true self, how we just keep moving from one reaction to another. So, so life keeps on turning, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, life is good. As a medical chaplain, I can say, having seen a lot of folks at the end of their lives, life is good. We tend to like life. But we also tend to repeat the same old questions and problems and difficulties. We recreate the things that are our patterns moment by moment. And so when I think about the year, I think about how all the cycles of my life kind of reflect how one moment turns into the next. So my wheel of life spread is the year ahead spread, but instead of thinking of it in predictive terms like this is what January is going to bring, this is what February is going to bring, I think about it how each moment, each month, each day brings me an opportunity to hunker down with my present moment experience and reflect on what's arising here, and how what's arising now is the fruition of a seed that was planted just a moment ago, just a week ago, just a month ago, just a lifetime ago, and is also now not just the fruit of that prior seed, but is itself a seed that will yield fruit to come. So just noticing those patterns as they unfold. That's how I understand the year ahead spread. Okay, I hope that made sense. I talk about it more in my book, soon to be available. It's coming out, I think, in May. By the way, shameless self-promotion here. For those of you in the Pacific Northwest, I will be at the Northwest Terra Symposium in Clackamas, Oregon, just outside of Portland, at the beginning of March, the weekend of, March 2nd? And I'll have some page proofs that you can see from the book, and you can get all excited and jazzed. And then for you, those of you at Reader's Studio at the end of April, I'll be doing actually a, a study group, maybe on Friday evening. I'm trying to remember when it is. And there will be copies of the book for sale. So shameless plug, shameless self-promotion. It's always good when the Buddhist tarot teacher who espouses the ephemerality of self does self-promotion. Woohoo! This is just one of the many delightful paradoxes of my life. Okay. Moving right along. So the year ahead spread for 2019, or the Wheel of Life spread. And as always, I'm using, I don't think of it as my soul deck, because there are so many, as Kelly Fitzgerald has said, pieces of my soul that get captured in my decks. But there's something about the wild unknown. Something about it. So this is the mass market edition, which in some ways is my favorite edition. I like the backs on the first edition, and the kind of yumminess of the cardstock on the first and second editions is sort of, it's what set the bar so high for so many publishers of decks. But the third edition, besides being something that is easy to purchase, it's beautifully done, the mass market, and it does not have any copyright. The borders are clean. Okay, so The Wild Unknown, 2019. I might shuffle for a while and then I wish I knew how to speed things up. I'm always impressed when people like Simon do a speed up. So, Mother of Pentacles, my theme card for the year. You know, Daughter of Pentacles was my December 2018 card, and as I was saying in my kind of year in review video, I associate that with Homer. So, you know, with my dog who passed away in December. So, you know, the Queen of Pentacles, the sort of sense of fertility and nurturing, and you know, I think it's about time that that the Mother of Pentacles is a central card for me. I've been thinking about all the ways in which nurturing and relationship and being more connected to the earth and to the sort of free flowing of soul that the wateriness of the Queen cards in general bring about, how that's important to me. And there's a way in which whoever Homer was in my world, what does it mean for me to take up my role as mother to that energy? Okay, so that's my theme of the year. Interesting. January, the sun. You know, restoration, coming into the light, a kind of awakening, a kind of culmination. The sun is it's kind of like the nines in the minor arcana. It's a culmination that is sort of still birthing inside us, as opposed to the total fruition of the suit. So it's not yet the world, but it's the illumination that makes the full apotheosis of world happen. And you know, and it really is restoration. You know, it's the Garden of Eden. It's paradise refound. It's our returning to the garden, the soul returning to its innocence after traveling through the world of experience. So this is January. February, my Hermit. For me, the Hermit is not simply, you know, I associate it with the cardinal virtue of prudence, which means I associate it with time. So it's not just about introspection and coming back into the self. It's also about the kind of wisdom that evolves through our willingness to be time-bound, to be beings that live in a world of unfolding, of cause and effect. So I take very seriously that the light here is also the hourglass in the traditional iconography. That inspiration, the inspiration that the hermit lives in time and lives in slowness, lives in the it's the card of meditation. You know, that willingness to sit still for a chunk of time, exactly what our lives don't usually enable us to do. March, the Mother of Swords. So the Queen of Swords, you know, is a pretty lonely card. The wisdom in this deck, less so. There's less pain associated with the Queen figure in the swords in Kim Kranz's deck, but it's still it's the wateriness and the airiness. This is not a fantastic combination. I identify a lot with this card in general. You know, what does it mean to have a mind that seeks discernment, that seeks the kind of that seeks the ability to cut through delusion, but then also to be a fully relational being. It's a hard path. And so one of the archetypes I associate with this card is Lady Macbeth, which means a lot to me as a former Shakespeare professor, a Shakespeare scholar. But you know, Lady Macbeth would love to be just ruthless mind. You know, she would love to be able to just strategize, but her heart gets in the way. So there's there's something ill at ease, a kind of dynamic tension in this card. And that's my March. My April, the Five of Cups. Yeah. That sense of loss. It's hard for the Five of Cups, for that figure to turn up toward what still remains. The Five of Cups, there's this focus on loss that doesn't, it's like if we could just turn toward the delicious liquor that is not spilt, if we could turn toward the ways in which the glass is proverbially half empty, as well, half full as well as half empty, there would be less in here. But the Five of Cups is the figure who hangs his head. My May. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Always am happy when the Three of Cups emerges. By the way, I pulled this upside down, but I don't do reversals with the Wheel of Life. Yeah. Okay. Community, coming together. I'm struck with this card, how it's like both sunset and sunrise, and you don't really know. There's a way in which when we come together as community, the joy that we feel, it's always got that kind of like, celebration always has a little bit of like, Auld Lang Syne to it, like may all old acquaintance be forgot. Like, we come together, but there's always, does this make any sense? There's always the goodbye that every hello also carries. So that's how I understand this card being both sunrise and sunset. Okay, so January, February, March, April, May, June. Whoa! Oh, dang it. But, in this deck, the Tower is so sweet and powerful because it's, the lightning, which is the traditional iconography of the Tower, is lightning. So there's that blast of insight, of illumination that happens. And yes, the old structure is conflagration. And in Kim Kranz's deck, the lightning that strikes the Tower is the same lightning that's at the heart of the Eight of Wands. So this sense of things, woomph, of hitting their target, of movement, of swiftness. So, the Hermit, my February, all about slow and steady, and the passage of time yielding wisdom. And this is like, boom, wisdom sometimes just fucking hits you. July. Oh, there we go. There's my sweet Daughter of Pentacles. So, I often find that my July card really picks up on the theme card in powerful ways. Like July, the middle of the year, it's always a freaking pivotal month. Yeah, so here we're back at Homer. We're back at this representation. So of this representation of whatever Homer meant to me, this love that is just so steady and complete. Yeah, this sense of deep companionship, which I also associate with the Page of Pentacles, that kind of just really being present, earth of earth, right? Okay, August. I had to see if it was upside down. I couldn't really tell because I'm doing this backwards in the iPad. Temperance. So, temperance for me, sorry, let me get it in the light better. It's always about reconciliation. It's about less about moderation, like a kind of finding a middle ground, than it is about the energetic kind of ongoing. It's for me, it's the card of practice, like in the sense of spiritual practice. Like it's not once and done, in terms of our path forward. We're always working with the kind of conflicting impulses, patterns, sort of what feels like roadblocks or hindrances, the gates in our way. We're not done with that. We don't conclude with that. It's an ongoing process of this kind of mingling of water and in this deck it looks like water and fire, but water and wine in the traditional imagery. It's a combining, a reconciling, not a resolution or a mean between opposites. It's dynamic. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. And then that feeds right into the Two of Pentacles as a kind of, the lemniscate here really bespeaks that kind of yin-yang movement, that reconciling that moves back and forth, that balancing. And this really captures the imagery of the Rider-Waite Smith, not just with the juggling of the two balls in that kind of game, but also behind him the sea and the sense of the ships rising and falling. So this is a card of rising and falling and the mingling of energies as a balancing that, like the breath, comes and goes, comes and goes. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. I don't know why I keep forgetting where I am. October. Of course, the strength of tarot is the strength of gentleness and the strength of a non-pushing. So it's neither grasping nor pushing away. I really, I love the lion with the rose in his mouth. I love the fact that this deck because it's getting rid of the human figures, it allows strength to just be one figure instead of a combination of two figures. Because the strength card, it's like, is the woman the figure of strength, or is the combination of the woman in relationship with the lion the figure of strength? And Kim Krans shows us, strength is the gentleness of the lion. Was that October? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Yeah. So, they're right next to each other in the major arcana. They're also so powerfully linked, and strength and the chariot. These are two versions of the same ability. In fact, these three cards in general, they're all about how we work with opposing forces, how we move forward, how we harness. For me, the chariot is like, how do we harness our desires? We may not have control over the things we want, the impulses that move us. In fact, if you try to fight what you want because you think it's not good, it just makes it stronger. So how do we work with that energy? How do we work with who we are? And there's a way in which the chariot is about harnessing desire, which doesn't mean just giving in to desire. It doesn't just mean enacting desire. It means finding a way to channel that deep oomph, that fire, that in Sanskrit, that virya, which is the fire of the wands, by the way, to harness that. Now, in Kim Krans's deck, the chariot, he wears a pentacle, so it ties it to the coins, to the figure of earth. But to me, the whole point of the chariot is the way in which this fieriness of the horse, which travels on the ground, is also the sort of Pegasus rising into the air. So you've got kind of fire, air, and earth all combined. All we need is water, and we'd have a complete set. Yeah, okay. All right, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Boom, we're back at December. And this is a card I love. I have to say, the Eight of Swords. I love it in Kim Krans's deck. I love the imagery of it, like the imprisonment, the enclosure is really temporary. This butterfly is going to emerge, and it's a monarch, it's a monarch butterfly, isn't it? Isn't that right? So it's, it's sovereign. It's the monarch. It will emerge. I don't know what else I want to say about this. There's something deep that speaks to me about this card, and the fact that it's now the December for this year invites me, I think, to think about how this card is a version of a turning over of my theme card. How does nurture inform the imprisonment of the Eight of Swords? How does the Eight of Swords inform the Mother of Pentacles? So my intention is each month, toward the end of the month, to revisit the card and to talk about the lessons. Because again, I said this in my review from last year of my year ahead. Here's the thing that's so powerful. The year ahead spread allows us to read our lives in terms of tarot and to read the tarot in terms of our lives. So there's an opportunity with the 13 cards we pull, among many other opportunities that this kind of practice entails. There's an opportunity for us to really deeply come to know those 13 cards by deeply reading them through the learnings, the lessons, the movements, the blockages of our life, moment by moment. That learning, that reading, that interpretation is ultimately what I mean by mindful tarot. How does the tarot help us hunker down and live and read and understand our lives? And how do our lives allow us to reach up into the 78 and to bring those images more and more to life? So if we're kind of engaging in this in an open-hearted way, there's a kind of feedback loop where our life reads the cards, our cards read our life, and we learn more and more, enriching this incredible vocabulary of this mandala of cards as we go along our merry way. Okay, I think that's all for right now. Thank you, as always, so much for your practice.